What's going on YouTube? Westhobbiesrc. So today we are back with another Puma 700. So now this helicopter is a local friend of mine, Jason. This is his model. He started the build and then contacted and asked me if I could finish the build for him, wire it, give it the West Hobbies touch, make it look all beautiful. And that's what we're gonna do. But he wants to do a 6S setup, so this is what we're running. Hobby Wing 150 for ESC. We are running the Sunny Sky 6S motor that we tested on Damien's Puma. So we're going to run that motor, Hobby Wing 150. Of course, Icon 2, HD flat barless, no other flat barless unit to ever run. Spectrum SRXL2, and a single DSMX satellite. So just like on every other build, SRXL2 on top, antennas down, DSMX satellite on the bottom. You guys know the drill. We are running torque servos all the way around on this model. We have the Torque BL2208 on cyclic and the 0704T on tail. So I already went ahead and put the torque grommets in for them. So now what we're gonna do is we need to get started on the motor mount, get the motor belt put back in because he did not do that. We're gonna put the decals on it for him because he told me what colors he wanted to do. So we're gonna decals on, motor belt on, motor mounted, and start getting the motor assembly and ESC done. And then we'll work our way back to the FBL tray and continue back. Ahead, started stripping everything out so we could get the motor belt on. So I had to take all of this apart just so I could get the belt on. It was either pull the lower off or the transmission assembly. And since we have to put the decals on anyways, I figured pull the lower off. So now got the motor belt on. I already went ahead and assembled the motor mount and ESC mount. So we're gonna have to change the connectors and get the ESC soldered up. But then I'm gonna run the Hobby Wing 150, very nice quality ESC. This is my first time with a 150 V5. Awesome little ESC, very nice quality. Love the machine casing. But so now we're gonna get the tail belt put back on, get the boom tensioned again, get the battery tray, the lower bearing block, and get the decals put on those frame sides. Just got the decals added to the frame sides, cleaned them really good with alcohol, paper towel, you guys know the drill. So we're gonna do yellow on the left side and orange on the right side because that's what Jason wants to do to match the canopy, how there's orange on the bottom, yellow here, and it kind of reverses as it goes back. So now that we got these done, get these back on the model, do the tail fin to match, and then we can move on to soldering up motor. And we got the lower frame sides done on both sides. We got the tail fin decals on, so the colors match on both sides. Orange on the right side, yellow on the left side, same with the tail fin. So now I'm gonna grab soldering iron. We got the motor belt put in. Boom is not tensioned, but it's pulled back. So now we're going to solder up ESC. We're gonna be running a EC5 for battery connector and 6mm connectors for the motor. And we're going to get this together and tossed in. We got the ESC all mounted, soldered up, EC5. We got our Sunny Sky motor all done up there. 4520, 1130 kV. So now we are going to tension the boom, because I still haven't done that. So we're going to tension the boom up real quick and then start on the FBL mount and tray, and then start with getting the Icon mounted, our SRXL2, our DSMX satellite, and then start on wiring this model, and we can get it finished up. Tension the boom, but I just wanted to share a little trick with you guys on SABs. So anybody knows, if you're like me, I know a lot of you aren't, but I'm perfectionist and I like stuff to be perfect. So your boom block is an anodized black material. Now you can mark this up and it'll be silver underneath. It's not a big deal, but I don't like that. So I use a piece of, I believe this is 5/32, really small heat shrink. It just fits over the screw. So I don't know if you can see that there. So I use a piece of heat shrink over the pin that is a screw that aligns your block and it rests up here. Then I put a piece of blue painter's tape over the boom so we don't mark the boom up. And then put my boom clamp on and tighten my boom down, my tension, and that way I don't mark up the carbon fiber boom or the block itself. Now that we have our tensioner clamp on into place, you can see that heat shrink there is resting right here on this boom clamp, and it protects the screw from marking up the clamp. The painter's tape protects the actual carbon fiber. 3mm driver, and just go ahead and tension your belt until you are happy. Now with your tensioner in, I just come in from the top up here. I feel the belt still loose. Go ahead, tension it all the way down. I'm happy with where the actual belt tension is. I come into here, I can feel it. That's about as tight as I like to run the belts. I like to run the tail belts a little bit on the tighter side, just so they can't slip. And then I pull this little pin here, your little retention holder, and feel the tension again. Everything feels good. And as you can see, the tape doesn't really slip. You can see it crunch up a little tiny bit, but it still works great. As you can see, not a single mark to the boom. Everything's good. Boom mount's not marked up. So now that our belt is properly tensioned, we are going to move on to the FBL mount and get all that done and move on to mounting Icon, SRXL2, and DSMX. Went ahead, got the FBL RX tray when assembled. Now, I am, of course, using rubber mounts. You guys know the deal. I use those on all of them, but if you want to use hard mounts, you put your hard mounts in. So I got the Icon 2 HD mounted and centered, double-sided taped. We got the tail servo hooked back up, 90 degreed. So now I just got done putting double-side tape on the SRXL2 and the DSMX satellite. So, of course, satellite on the bottom, SRXL2 on top, and then go down to the little 3D printed antenna holder. So I'm going to get that done, and then we can start wiring. It is an Icon 2 HD, just like the other Puma. Our BEC power will go to the HD port and wire it the same way. So let me go ahead and get these mounted, and let's start on the wiring. So we got the SRXL2 mounted, DSMX satellite mounted. We got our antenna holder, so they go down, back, just like on all the other builds we've done. So we're going to wire up the SRXL2. Now we're going to do all the wiring, but I just wanted to touch on this. So for everybody that asks, when you're wiring an SRXL2, I know I've done this in another video, but you remove the gray wire. So you don't need that wire. You need your brown-ish red color wire, this top one, that's going to be your signal. And then your yellow-orange wire is your power, and black is your ground. Those go to a servo plug on the end. That ties into channel 3 on the Icon. Super easy to wire. Get rid of the gray. Your brownish purple color wire is your signal. Your orange yellow wire is your power. And of course, black is your ground. So I'm going to start wiring everything up. We got the servos marked. I'm going to mark them now so we know what goes where. And let's start getting this thing wired. So I went ahead and made up the wire from channel 3 to the SRXL2. And then started covering all of our wires in heat shrink. So I got the ESC BEC governor wire done. Now, because this is an HD, I know I touched on it already, but I will be taking the actual power from the BEC and I'm going to solder it right to the HD plug, just like we did on the other Puma, and then governor port. And then, of course, we got to run one wire from channel 5 from the 456 port to the P port of the ESC. So I'm going to go ahead, get that wire made up, get these heat shrunk down, start running our wires back, and then we can move on to shortening the elevator servo and rudder servo and start making this thing look all prettyful. So I went ahead, got all the wires heat shrunk down. We have a 2mm bullet connector right here, so we can take this line off if need be. Again, ran to the P port, so wire to 2mm bullet, single wire back, which is going to go to channel 5 of the 456 port. We got our servo 1 and 3 plugged in here, so we can kind of get an idea of the loop and how much we need to cut off of the other wires from the ESC. So we're going to go ahead, get all these nice and cleaned up so they're in line, because I like to have them all in line and perfect. Went ahead and gave this kind of a little 90-degree curve here, so that way when the little cover goes on, everything is nice and neat. So now I already went ahead and did the rudder servo, so shortened it, got it ran. I just got to double side tape it down to the mount, cut and shorten these, and then move on to the elevator servo. So I just went ahead, got all the wires shortened, got them ran into the FBL unit. So now what I need to do is cut the end off of this plug. This is BEC power. That is going to go down to the HD port of the Icon. But if you're not running an HD Icon, you could always tie your power into your governor port. So you would just tie your positive and negative into the governor port, and there you go. But since we're running an HD, I like to run this power directly into the HD line. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, finish straightening all these wires out, and we'll be good to go. I just completely finished up all the wiring. We got the cover on. We got everything nice and secured. We got the satellite wire ran up underneath down to the satellite. Everything is cut, shortened, perfect runs. So now it is time to set the Icon up and get ready to fly this. Got done with the Icon setup, so everything is working like it should. So now I need to glue the little guide in. I like to wait till last so that way I can get the servo centered, and then I can make sure that this little brass is centered, little drop of thin CA, just so it's centered on the actual push rod. But we got our SRX02, our DSMX satellite, our wiring is completed. We'll be flying on 6S Pulse 5000. So I'm gonna go ahead, get the battery tray, get the battery mounted, balance the model out, and then we will see what this thing looks like all finished up. We are completely done, but the last thing we need to do, of course, is our fabric paint and gluing our actual FBL wires. So just like on every model, I'm going to just start with a nice little bead, and I'm going to just run it across all these servo pins. Give me a nice thick bead. And I like to go a little thick on this because as it dries, it will run down a little bit. So it'll actually glue the pins together. Works really good. And then I go over to the satellite wires because these wires are very thin and could break technically. So I just, for an added insurance, I just go through these wires just like this, and I kind of feather it out a little bit. That way it kind of just runs, glues all that together. And then you can also come here to your SRXL2 wires and give it a nice little bead as well. And that will help those wires and protect them. So now we let that dry and the model is 100%. I hope you guys enjoyed this little finishing series of this Puma 700. Jason, thank you for allowing me to finish this model for you. I know you are super excited for it. I'm super excited to build it and fly it, and that you allowed me to build this model. So thank you, buddy. I greatly appreciate it. So there you guys go. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys liked the video. Give this video a like, subscribe, take care, and have a great day.